You know Greta Thunberg, right? An activist, an advocate for our planet, David Attenborough's bestie, a strong wahine toa leading the way, embodying the change. But I bet you didn't know she's a hypocrite, because the phone she uses, that contains lithium, which was extracted using pollutants. Or encouraging people to go vegan, those meat alternatives are imported from France, hence more carbon emissions. She's a privileged, naive teenager that doesn't have any real-world issues to deal with. Do I look like I care? Well, fortunately for you, I do, and quite strongly. These are derogatory societal narratives of which are implemented at almost every level we see, and consequently are quotes from conversations I get to have often. We have this social norm that activists, most commonly environmental activists, are hypocritical, and therefore you might think that we don't have the right to advocate for change whilst owning a car, keeping our houses warm, or simply using our phones. But perfectionism kills action, as does holding activists to an unattainable standard. Because there's days where I forget to bring my reusable cup, where I'm running late and so I have to drive rather than bike, when I'm slow to call people out when they're racist and don't disagree with them entirely when they blatantly deny climate change. But this doesn't make me any less of an activist. Rather, it makes me an imperfect one. It serves as a reminder to both you and I that we're human. Because I know that as long as I continue to embody, speak, and act the change that I know we need to see, then I'll continue to be an imperfect activist and proud to be one. Kia ora. My name's Nora, I'm 17, I use she, her pronouns, and I go to Rangiruru Girls' School in Otatahi, Christchurch. I care deeply about a variety of issues, but in particular, the intersectionality between climate change and racism. I guess you could say that I'm somewhat of an activist in a non-traditional and imperfect way. My journey with activism started at 15, and since then, I've spent over 500 hours in the social justice space. But unfortunately, a lot of this time was spent trying to reach the impeccable standard of a perfect activist, that while I put in myself, was reinforced by the society that I find myself living in. What I've learned along the way is that vulnerability creates freedom. And so today, I'm going to be vulnerable with you all. This is my LinkedIn profile. Now, you may be thinking a variety of things, but I've narrowed it down to 3 potential answers. Firstly, this is a peculiar way to start a TEDx talk. Secondly, if she's being vulnerable, then why are we looking at her LinkedIn? Or thirdly, it's even more peculiar that a 17-year-old is on LinkedIn, but not TikTok. At a glance, you'll see that I founded what at the time was New Zealand's youngest literary intelligence group, and later founded the Multicultural Ōrākei Youth Council. I sit on the advisory board for 5 different national and international organizations, have developed a mock-up of a compostable plastic alternative using polylactic polymers, and most recently was the youth representative on the Ministry of Social Development Social Cohesion Framework. I've also been a part of a variety of national campaigns, including Shark to Youth, Make It 16, and School Strike for Climate. All within the space of 18 months and during a global pandemic. Now, I'm not telling you these things to be boastful or to be prideful or to be praised, nor to be ungrateful for the incredible opportunities that I have had. I'm telling you these things as a vessel of vulnerability so you can envision just how chaotic life was. Because while you might see me much happier and healthier on stage today, you failed to see the days where I struggled to get out of bed, where I spent more time on my emails than I did with my closest friends, couldn't sleep at night without taking everything off of my to-do list, and when my purpose in life was directly based and associated off of my productivity as an activist. Because we have this social norm that activists aren't doing enough until they're on the verge of burnout. And so I decided that my toxic preconceived idea of what it meant to be an activist led me to say no to my closest friends, family, studies, sports, social life, and lastly, and most importantly, my well-being as a whole. Because when you say yes to an opportunity, no matter the reasoning behind it, you're always saying no to something else. In my philosophy class, we've recently been studying Aristotle. He's an ancient philosopher and political theorist. He's thought to have said that knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. We have to understand who we are, our commitments, reasons for advocating, and morals before we commit to act. Because our activism is becoming increasingly intersectional with how we see ourselves. We could say that this norm increases our rangatahi to be their best self, but if you're being your best self out of a place of expectation rather than that of authentic passion, the change that you do accumulate isn't going to be as sustainable or as impactful as what it otherwise will have been. And so, to the activists that are struggling to keep their head above the water, your worth is not defined by people's opinions or assumptions of you, the opportunities that you're approached with, or the achievements you acquire. Your worth is found in knowing that you can give back to the world, and that you deserve happiness and contentment in every season. And so, back yourself, apply for opportunities, advocate for issues, and do so imperfectly, giving yourself grace, vulnerability, and humility. To the person that is scared to step out of the boat, and to speak up, I see you. It's hard to not only criticize a society that we're often conditioned into, but more often benefit from. But it's not about me or you, it's about what we can do together for the betterment of Aotearoa. Tahuna tō ahi, ignite your light, whatever that might look like for you. Embodying the change could be as easy as volunteering through SVA at your school, joining your local youth council, signing petitions, or even speaking up when you hear something that doesn't quite sit right with you in casual conversation. As my dad always says, community starts at home. And so try bringing in meatless Mondays, using beeswax wraps, or even recycling. It can make a huge difference on an institutional level when you do something in an interpersonal one. And lastly, try to look, review, and deconstruct some of the generational bias and narratives, all which might be prevalent in your life. Watch TEDx talks, read books, educate yourselves on issues that might not be coming into your everyday life. Lastly, to the Greta Thunberg haters, climate change deniers, hypocrite namers, and government blamers, your stereotyping and frankly bullying of every activist that makes you feel confronted and uncomfortable is immature. I understand that often it comes from a place of miseducation, misinformation, and fear, but on a systemic level, it's often adding to the issues rather than creating solutions. But I hear you, I see you, and I still see you, but I still respect you. And I respect you enough to invite you into the fight, the good fight, the fight for a better Aotearoa for all. Kia ora, ko Nora tuku ingoa. Hi, my name is Nora Quigley. I'm a daughter, a sister, a friend, a teammate, an extroverted introvert, a human being, a lover of people, and last but not least, an imperfect activist. Thank you.